want to do what Ghost Adventures does, but with wrestling. And it's something we've been working on. You guys like were out and you saw a fucking Wendigo fighting a Sasquatch.
Eat shit. Why are you telling that story?
It's good. It's good.
Why are you exposing me right now?
Because it's awesome. So
fuck you. I wasn't.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Downtime in the Ring. As of this recording, me and Chris just came back from helping Phase 1 Pros sell out. So we're going to try to keep the energy as much as we can, but our legs are hurting from recording. But we are here with the one, the only, Kale Billy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have this conversation, man. Like I said, I've been a fan for years. It's awesome that I finally get to talk to you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I always find that weird when if anybody ever says that. Like, I'm not used to that, so that's pretty cool. So I appreciate the support. It's cool just to reach anybody with the bullshit that I do. So thank you.
Hey, it matters, man. I'll say that, especially to somebody growing up into cryptids and into paranormal and into, murder cases. And then I see you and I'm like, oh, nobody's doing this. This is amazing. Oh,
thanks. Thank you.
Awesome.
In that regard, I want to kind of briefly just take a point pause right now, and I'm going to teach a lesson as to why he shouldn't that we should probably start interviewing couples together. And this will lead to my first question. Hey, how was it being trained by Funaki?
Yeah, we popped for that. We were watching that today, both Dolly and I. But training her Funaki was really cool, man. I'd already had some. I'd already been doing the indies. I'd spent some time under Rip Rogers. Got mentored by former Smoky Mountain Wrestling heavyweight champion Bobby Blaze, But during all that, I had already picked up, which when I went to Rip Rogers in 2012 at OVW, I'd already had like bad indie habits. So luckily I was like a mark enough for wrestling to where I kind of figured out some of the stuff to do and some of the stuff not to do, but I still had bad indie habits that I had picked up from not being trained. So Rip fixed that a little bit. But then when Dolly and myself, we left Kentucky, kind of not by choice, we kind of just had to leave because like being homeless and stuff like that, and not really having anybody to turn to. So we go down to Texas. She gets us booked at this company in San Antonio called RCW, and Hernandez was part of that company at the time. And it really goes to this right here. Like, she's got the look and stuff, and like at that time I wasn't even as, and I don't consider myself jacked at all right now or anything like that, but I'm in better shape now than what I was then. Like, you can actually tell I work out a little more right now than what you could back then. So she had the look. They booked her on that, and I was kind of like the baggage that came with that. Like, yeah, okay, cool. If we got to get her, we'll take you, So that's always a good thing about having somebody hot like that gets bookings. Like, they kind of got to take you, or you get to kind of linger around. Anyway, when we went down there, we found out some of the wrestlers at RCW, they were training, and Dolly got the contact info on that. One thing led to another. We found out Funaki had a school down in San Antonio, and we went down there and we just started training, and it was a great experience. So because of like Dolly and everything that she's done, it got me to go down there and work, and then it got me into Funaki's school. So, and the big thing I took away, because he was training, this is like 2015 into 2016, he was training everybody the way they do at the Performance Center NXT. I was doing my lockups wrong. And that was something I had back to the whole indie habits thing. I had to like break myself. He was like, oh no, you're not doing this right. And I was like, and then it gets in your head. You're like, but this is how I've always done it. Well, you can't think like that when you got a pro, and then here's this guy, how was it to train under him? Shit, man, I grew up in the 90s. So I remember the whole Choppy PP, the whole Indeed, everything that, Funaki did. I played him on video games, had toys of him. So for me, I'm 25, 26 at the time. I'm marking out a little bit like, oh, this is pretty cool. So,
yeah,
that's crazy.
To hear that, to hear the, being able to be trained by somebody like that. And then y'all's, what you guys are trying to do overall, and the people that you guys have met, you know, looking back at where you guys started, you know, in OVW and then going to Texas and now, like, how does that feel a little bit?
So I used to, so it's funny, like she's always, because she came from acting and stuff. Like we had met in wrestling. She was already a valet and stuff. But what brought her to wrestling was it was just something to put on her resume for acting. So Dolly always had this like really professional mindset about things. And unfortunately, me being like from the Appalachian Mountains of Eastern Kentucky, you don't really get pushed to follow your dreams and stuff. And it's like, that's impossible. You can't obtain that. You can't achieve that, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of get into your own head, you know, when people are telling you you can't do that without telling you that. And then in some cases, they're straight up fucking telling you that, like, you can't, that's not for you, you know. So when I would encounter this stuff, I'd be a mark about it, not outward, but, you know, inward. So I'd get in my own head. Like the first time her and I met Keish, our coach Rikishi, who he would become, we pull up and I tell her, I was like, oh my God, that's him. You know, so because, you know, for me, it was like, oh my God, I grew up watching this guy. I had toys of him. I hated him when he ran Stone Cold Steve Austin over, you know, and it was, I still had that mark mentality. And there's nothing wrong with having a mark mentality because I still have that, but in a good way. So now, after everything her and I have gone through, I approach the business as a business person now. Like, and I love wrestling, but just being exposed to the type of people that we're exposed to and the people that we've been around, I look at things completely differently. Like when she was booked at WrestleCon this year, I'm passing people left and right, like Tony Schiavone's over here, Dustin Rhodes is over here, and that's cool. But for me, it was like, all right, cool. So that's how much like my mentality's changed on things, because I view wrestling as a business, and as I treat it as such now. I don't let wrestling take advantage of me anymore. I use it. I take advantage of it, and I don't let it do that to me. So it's really weird because I had this conversation with her, transitioning from that mark mentality of like, oh my God, to okay, yeah, cool.
That's interesting. And now you're gonna, you know, now traveling and doing more matches and trying to get your name out there more, you're gonna have that where people are gonna come up to you and be the mark and be like, oh my God, like me, obviously I'm a big fan of yours, so obviously I'm enjoying this conversation already.
That's
going
cool.
into that, like, you know, how does that feel for you on your career? And you know, now that you're entering this new chapter of where you're like, man, we got to put our nose to the grindstone and just keep going, like, how does that feel?
Well, it's really cool because, and what I mean by really cool is my mindset on everything is just being a grown-ass man now and enduring and experiencing everything that I've experienced and I've experienced with her, going and traveling all over this country and training under the people we've trained under, and now working in the states that I've worked in. I view wrestling, and again, so I tell other wrestlers this now because I still feel like an 18-year-old kid. I literally just turned 34 yesterday. So I swear to God, aside from I might get sore a little easier on certain things, but not a lot. I feel the exact same way right now, if I'm being honest, that I did when I was like 14 and 18. I mean, my hair's a little more thin now. It's easier for me to get fat, but that's about it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But I think just with the maturity and the experience of everything now, so when people come up to me and like they're a fan or they have some type of respect for me it's weird. It's like, oh yeah, because I just view myself as, hey, I'm Nate. You know, I love chainsaws and I love wrestling and I love 80s hair metal and all that. And I like to post all this shit online, but I kind of get lost and I forget that. So I try to treat everyone, because I know what it's like to be in a locker room or be at a wrestling show with somebody I was a fan of, or I kind of looked up to, or I admired in some way, or even like an actor that I've met before. And I know what it's like to meet people and they kind of suck. So I always try to be fair to everybody and be, hey, what's up? Hey, let's get a photo. I do that with like everyone. So it's a weird it's a weird dynamic to switch. You know what I mean? Go from this side of the barricade to that side. So.
And so with like, with who you are in the ring
Yeah.
and what you present and having Dahlia at your side, has it been easier in this like new wave of wrestling for the gimmick to just instantly pop with people or be hated
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
going into that?
Yeah, because in today's climate, man, with wrestling, everything happens so fast. And there's this mentality out there now that you have to wrestle like Will Ospreay or the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega. And that's fine. There ain't shit wrong with working like that and wrestling like that. I don't have a problem with that. But however, just like at one point the business in the industry got so full of guys that looked like Ultimate Warrior, when you brought somebody along that looked like Dusty Rhodes or Mick Foley, you were like, oh, okay. So now in today's business, in today's sport, you have so much of this stuff going on, because I'm not a deathmatch guy. I mean, my gimmick's tailor-made for death matches, but I don't do death matches. And then I don't flip and I don't flop and I don't do cartwheels and I can't. I don't do that. I'm gimmick. I know how to work. So it's one of those scenarios to where I have such a interesting gimmick that takes parts of everything here and there and put it together that it draws a certain portion of the audience. Now, not everybody's going to like it. They're going to be like, some people are going to be like, oh, fuck this guy, man. All this guy does is swing a fucking chainsaw. There'll be guys like that, and that's okay. You're not going to, it's wrestling's a buffet. So in today's climate, I do stand out and I do stick out. So
He would have so much fun in New Mexico, dude. Especially
after
what we dealt with last night. Oh,
yeah.
You'd have so much fun here.
Sweet. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. I got to do some stuff out in Arizona last year, and it was fucking easy. Like, not in a bad way, but it was just a really solid match, and had a lot of fun, and the crowd was hot and heavy. It was really fun. So.
Oh yeah, we got a couple of friends out there too that came to visit for the show. So that's awesome.
Sweet.
So going away from wrestling for a little bit, because you just mentioned, living in the or being from the Appalachian Mountains in northern Kentucky.
No, southeastern. It's southeastern.
Oh, southeastern.
Yeah.
Probably my biggest question of this entire episode is how many skinwalkers did you see growing up?
None that I know of. I don't know if skinwalkers, I'm not saying they wouldn't be there. I don't think that would be their territory. I know the Appalachian part that I'm at, that would be more Sasquatch, maybe Wendigo oriented. And, but then you would have other things. There's a lot of extraterrestrial activity out there. And there's also, the whole Mothman thing, because it's really funny. So I'm 2 hours where I was born and raised in Pikeville, Kentucky. It's where all that Hatfield and McCoy bullshit happened. The two feuding hillbilly families. I call it Hillbilly Romeo and Juliet because that's what it was. And,
interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So I'm from right there in Pikeville, Kentucky, like deep in the mountains. So about 2 hours from there, that's where Point Pleasant, West Virginia is. And for those that don't know, that's where in 66, 67, you have all this crazy Mothman shit going on from this big winged red-eyed creature shows up. He's making himself known in the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Men in Black show up. There's sightings of UFOs. An alien named Indrid Cold shows up. There's all kinds of just crazy shit. And then it all kind of just climaxes when the Silver Bridge collapse, kills I think 47 people. Mothman's never saw again after that. So... Growing up 2 hours from that, and then a few hours up the road from that, in the 50s, you have the Flatwoods Monster, that whole thing that happened. So it's kind of more out there, more Bigfooty and more space alien, if that makes sense. And then you have some Wendigos, and then you have like Appalachian witches, which I have a couple of those in my family. And it's just like, it's just like bullshit. Like there was somebody in my family generations ago. If she wanted something that you had, you didn't give it to her, it would break or it would disappear, just bullshit like that. So I come from deep within like that type of stuff. Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A lot of intuition, in tune type of thing, just hillbilly witch stuff is really what it is. But yeah, no skinwalkers that I'm aware of. I mean, not that there couldn't be, because like the whole Mothman thing, the whole origin of that, really, there was a Native American chief called Chief Cornstalk, and he was betrayed by the white man, and they say that that's the reason that Point Pleasant, he cursed Point Pleasant, and that's the reason all the shit happened there. So,
That's crazy.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. If you ever have the app Tubi, there's a fantastic documentary on there from 2011 about the Mothman, and dude, it goes into everything, and it's the most fascinating cryptid, and that's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah, and I can kind of attest with Donovan and I, because growing up in Roswell, New Mexico, like,
oh yeah,
we get kind of jaded to the idea after so long, because we know Roswell for different things compared to what the rest of the world will know Roswell
absolutely.
for, and so we kind of lose that disconnect, and oftentimes we'll find ourselves like, even today we're coming in right back from Albuquerque, and we're seeing tourists, so we're just like, they're taking pictures of the alien side. I'm like,
yep.
So it's that different kind of feel for us, at least. But in that regard, like, still seeing little local legends, like we have a ghost of Nimmy, we have a ghost of this high school gym, we have the Lady of the Lodge a couple 2 hours up north in Cloudcroft, and Bottomless Lakes has this weird underground tunnel that leads into Carlsbad Caverns somehow, and they say there's an underwater octopus, and little urban legends and myths. So we have our own thing of, as far as the EGP area and stuff, and it's insane, because we'll, like, even though we attest it, we still kind of like, well, yeah, there's this and this and this.
Exactly.
And that.
And you said urban legend, and that's one of my monikers, one of my nicknames in wrestling, because of the whole cryptid aspect. And when Dolly and I were throwing this wrestling gimmick together, so we're living out of our car in LA, and we're training in Rakesh at that time, and we'd always want to do something with a chainsaw, always. So we knew we were going to do that. And but how can we make it different? Because Kirshner, he was the first Leatherface in Japan, and then of course you had like Doug Gilbert did Leatherface in Memphis, and then Patterson was the second Leatherface. Right now Tony Myers is the third Leatherface running around. So, and then of course Terry Funk did Chainsaw Charlie. That's where I was first exposed to it. So I'd always wanted to do it, and I knew I couldn't do anything that hadn't been done, but I could do something different. So we were going to do the Leatherface thing, and then Dahlia, she was like, what would happen if, Leatherface encountered cryptids? And I was like, holy shit, that's what we can do. And she's like, that's what we're going to do. And I was like, that's what we're going to do. That's great. So we found our mask guy down in Florida, Tony from Spellbound Effects and Art, phenomenal artist. He's like Tom Savini, man. He's just fucking great. Great price too. Great. Oh, he's so good, dude. And we found him, and I got the human flesh vest made, and I got the human flesh mask. And after I did that, I was like, hey, do you think you could like sculpt like alien faces? Could you do that? He was like, I'll see. And then so he did it. So he made the alien skin for Dahlia and myself on our vests and our mask, and he did a severed alien head. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, do you think you could do Sasquatch? And he was like, I'll see. I was like, all right, cool, man. So he did Sasquatch for her and myself, got us a big severed Sasquatch head. I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, you think you do Mothman? And he's just been so fucking slammed. He's like, yeah, I'll get to it at some point. And he never did. And I got a little antsy, and I found a guy to do Mothman. But anyway, now that I've explained all that in the origin, every town has an urban legend. So I knew I couldn't do, after Dahlia gave me the idea of the whole cryptid thing, I was like, dude, that's so fucking good. Because everywhere you go, there's an urban legend. You have El Cucuy, the Mexican boogeyman. I was like, fucking taking that, because that's a badass name, and it's fucking scary. It's fucking scary, man. I was like, I'm gonna take that name. I love that. And Staten Island in New York, he's Cropsey. I was like, I'm gonna take that. I fucking love that. So every town has their boogeyman. Every culture has their boogeyman, and so we just start taking that. And we're like, we're gonna be the urban legends of pro wrestling. That's what we're gonna do. So we just kind of ran with that.
Have you guys been to Dallas for the Goatman Bridge?
So been to Dallas. We lived outside of Dallas in a little town called Colleyville, back in 2015 before we went down to San Antonio. And Goatman is definitely one of my favorites because there's 3 Goatmen I know of. I want to go to the Dallas one. That's like a satanic Goatman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking terrifying. I was like, that's scary as shit. I want to go down there, do some bullshit, go out there. Because my whole thing I've been wanting to do, and Dolly and I have talked about this forever. We kind of want to do what Ghost Adventures does, but with wrestling. And it's something we've been working on. So, but instead of like that kind of hokey, we'll do our kind of hokey with it. You know what I mean? And it just be some shit like that. But I want to go down. I'll be going back down, I think, in a couple of weeks. I don't know if I'm going through Dallas when I go down, though. But at some point, I'm going to go down to that Goatman Bridge because that's on the to-do list, man. And then I know in Louisville, Kentucky, we have the Popelick Monster, which is a Goatman. He lives at a train, like on a fucking train bridge. And then I think Maryland has a Goatman also. So.
Oh, shit, dude. You already have this mapped out and everything, man.
Dude, when I fucking commit, I fucking commit. Like, I love this shit. Like, this shit, like, wait till you see. We're trying to get the pilot and stuff for what we want to do with the whole wrestling and urban legend paranormal thing. I'm more obsessed with doing it with cryptids, like the Boggy Creek Monster or Momo down in Missouri, just stuff like that. So
we don't have any cryptids over in this area, do we, Chris?
Chupacabra.
That could just be a hairless dog.
You guys got La Llorona?
Yeah, we have La Llorona.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Sorry. I said that very.
No.
I said that very white. I apologize.
No. You're good. Yes, we have that. I think we would have Wendigo territory too.
We would.
We have Apache and a couple of native tribes down here.
That's like the one thing I won't help you with.
Well, you guys should have Wendigos and Skinwalkers, shouldn't you?
Yes.
You should have both of them. Oh, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Dude, can you imagine if you guys were out and you saw a fucking Wendigo fighting a Sasquatch?
Back in 2019, I had one of the worst days of my life. Actually, in a week span, I decided I didn't want to be here anymore. But after I came out on the other end, I realized that there were so many people, especially in this business, that were struggling with some of the same things I was. And a lot of times there is this mindset that we can't really share what we go through, and it's up to us to fight these battles alone. It's almost as if it's TMI to tell people what you're going through and what you're dealing with. And that's when I started hashtag TMI, hashtag tag me in. Because every single day we are in a handicap match with depression, anxiety, stress, life, bills, whatever may have you. But nobody said it had to be a one versus all. If you have people out there that genuinely care, that genuinely want to see you win, that genuinely want to see you succeed, that genuinely want to see you live, tag them in. They're here to help. And that's what TMI is all about.
I'd cry because I ain't making it back.
Insane.
You know what happens? Dude, you know what happens. And the reason you know it happens is because you take actual shit we know is real. Fucking bears cross wolves.
Yeah.
And that shit happens, man. And that fucking over in Africa with lions and hyenas and all that crazy shit, or Australia. So, in the cryptid world, fucking there's territories to all this shit. Because my theory and opinion on it is there's different races and species of Sasquatch. That's why some are bigger, some are smaller, some are stinkier, some look different. Like I just named it, you have the Boggy Creek Monster down in Fauke, Arkansas. You have out in Kentucky, I think we call him the Yahoo, I think is what he's called. Yeah, I think he's the Yahoo. And he might have another name. But then you also in Ohio has Orange Eyes and then another one too. There's different names and like different species, and they're all kind of different, and they have their own like persona, their own character. So these fucking things are out there. And I actually, when I was doing the podcast I used to do, I brought a guy on, and he was a wrestler and a preacher, and he did some Sasquatch hunting. So he was like very fucking, he was an expert in Sasquatch hunting. And he said he had a Native American friend down in Texas that told him this story that this Native American was out on his ranch or whatever. And he said he heard this fucking awful sound, and coming down the mountain crashing was a Sasquatch and a dog man. He said they rolled down the mountain, hit the water, and like Sasquatch, I guess, pulled this dog man up, snapped his fucking neck, and killed him. And I was like,
shit.
I was like, brother, can you fucking imagine seeing that in real life? Like, it'd be the damnedest thing. I'd be like, oh my, that's all. I'd be terrified, but that'd be the coolest thing ever,
That's
I mean, it'd be
metal
like
as
watching
fuck.
Freddy versus Jason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, man, just hearing you talk and like hearing your energy, dude. The UFO festival that we have every year. So we have had like Josh Gates. We've had the people who did
Yeah.
Fact or Faked. Which I watched completely when I was younger, all the
Hell
time.
yeah.
Binge watched it like crazy.
Oh yeah.
There's a cryptid network, like news show network, but I don't remember their name, man. You would be like just the light of the convention, dude. Honestly, bro, with your energy.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I think what draws me to this stuff is it's very intriguing, of course. But I think what draws me to it is the same thing that draws me to wrestling and slasher movies in particular. It's characters, because the wrestlers that matter in wrestling, they're character driven. I mean, you say whatever the fuck you want to about Goldberg and Ultimate Warrior, dude, they're fucking characters. I mean, they made money. It's because they were characters. Then you go to slashers. Everybody knows who Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, Chucky, Pinhead, Candyman, etc., etc. It's character, driven. And then you go into the cryptid world, and whether you're talking about the Hopkinsville Goblins from Kentucky, where I'm from, or we have a place over there called the Land Between the Lakes, and that's where our werewolves are from in Western Kentucky. And it's character, the Flatwoods Monster, the fucking Mothman, all this stuff. Like, there's a couple Ohio cryptids. There's one called Octoman, fucking wild, man. It's just a wild ass cryptid that I discovered a couple years ago. And that's what, like, characters make money, even when you go like in with religious texts. Like, everything that matters, the devil, he's a character. God is a character. David versus Goliath, characters. Character drives everything about this world. It drives everything.
No, 100%. I agree to that. So, like, getting to pick y'all's brain in the last interview I did with Dahlia and you being on the side, you guys are very much into horror. Obviously, you guys are doing, your own independent films and all of this. And there's a movie that came out, and I immediately thought of you when I saw the first trailer. And it's called Violent in Nature, where now it's the perspective of the Jason Voorhees-esque killer.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like a pseudo documentary style. Like, is that something that you see horror going to now, where people don't really want to see the protagonist's view in these movies? We'd rather see what it looked like for Freddy, or what it looked like for Chucky. That's one of my favorites. Or what it looked like for well, I can't say like Ghostface, because we all know what his perspective was. There's like 7 different people in each movie.
That's true. But I'll tell you this, I think a Scream, I think in particular, if they did one of the Scream movies like that, I think it'd be a hell of a gamble. But I think if it's done right, it could work on Scream, because it's never been done. I do like the ideal, but also too, when something works, and apparently it's doing really good in theaters right now. I don't know how good, but I've seen mixed reviews, but mostly positive. Because some people talk about how boring it is, just following him walking. But shit, I think that's cool. I think what'll happen is, if it's very successful, we'll see what happened with the Paranormal Activity thing, to where people ride the fuck out of it, and we're talking.
Oh no.
But it's different with slashers. There's a certain formula to slashers, and some people don't like change. I think it can work. I think for this series, if they continue, because I love the idea of what they did with this, because it's been, because of rights fees, or not rights fees, but because of the whole court case with Friday the 13th, we haven't had a new Friday the 13th since 2009. Yeah. So I think it's cool that we got this, which is kind of like a great value Jason. It looks great and stuff, and I'm not taking nothing from it. I'm just saying, like, so that's cool to kind of quench our thirst for Friday the 13th. But I don't know if they would go. I'm afraid that if everybody did that, it'd be the same thing with Paranormal Activity. You know what I mean? Because there was like a 10-year span there where it was POV everything, and it just was like, okay, this was cool for. I love Blair Witch Project. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And first Paranormal Activity is very fun, but after a while, it's like, okay, it turns into hair metal. I love hair metal, but by the time we got to Nirvana, everybody was doing hair metal, and that's why it died. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that regard, one of my favorite, more recent, like slasher-esque films was X and Pearl. The way they shot that in tandem, like with you first see X and then learning that they shot Pearl immediately after filming X, and
That's cool.
how coming into term of like, okay, you see X and Pearl, who's technically the slasher killer in that movie, and then seeing her upbringing, how becoming that, and it's becoming a tandem in two. That's kind of a nice little thing that I've noticed in the slasher film genre, without it being a remake and stuff like
Yeah.
that, or in that regard, trying to make little callbacks to the original films that were initially, and even bringing back the older actors to reprise roles and stuff. But in that regard, with X and Pearl, I love how they take the end. They show us the end, and then they show us the beginning of it, and it's a tandem in two. You ever see them trying to take that formula and also kind of like beating the hell out of it, like
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity? Yeah. So, like
Yeah.
in
I
that.
had. Go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I was finishing up.
Oh no, I hadn't watched Pearl or X yet, but the trailers and stuff I saw, I was like, oh man, that looks cool, because there was like a a 70s Texas Chainsaw vibe to it, and I was like, nah, that's cool. I think with a lot of the slasher genre in particular, because it goes in and out, it always goes in and out, because everybody does it, because slashers are the easiest horror movie to make. It's easier than doing zombies. It's easier than doing paranormal, demonic possession. It's like, okay, there you go, demonic possession movies. I mean, after you get past like The Exorcist and then the Amityville Horror, it's kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, Amityville Horror is kind of like top notch for haunted house shit, and then Exorcist is top notch for possession. You have a couple of sneakers in there that are just like, okay, I'm cool with that. But then it just gets to the point where bam, bam, bam. And I think that's the reason slashers are able to survive, because it goes to the character. Because Pazuzu's the fucking character in The Exorcist. He's this nameless, faceless fucking demon. All right, cool. He's a fucking demon. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Then the Amityville Horror. All right, it's a house. Awesome.
One of the coolest match types.
In a world of wrestling, we bring to you the WSN app, only on Roku.
I'm not going to go in there. That's cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no.
But that's true though. About slashers, you have these different Chucky. He's a fucking dog. That's you might in retrospect say, "Well, I could fucking kill a dog." Yeah, you could. But if you're just at the house, fucking hanging out, eating a sandwich, watching some TV, and this new dog your kid just got is like turning up in random places, and I'm not talking about fucking Annabelle. I'm talking about a fucking again, a possessed dog. All right, that's cool. But like a real possessed dog, fucking Chucky. That's scary. That's how, and he's a character. And I think that's why slashers, even though every franchise we can name, they'll have like their shitty incarnations during that franchise, but they always come back. And the reason they always come back is because we relate to them. You can call it nostalgia or whatever, but it's just where it's so character driven. And that's like when they brought out the new Exorcist movie, I was like, I mean, I don't really give a fuck about it. It looks cool, but I don't care about that at all. But again, I'm a slasher guy. I'm not a big like demonic possession guy or a haunted house guy. So
Okay. So I know like I said earlier, like you guys are, trying to do the independent films and go into more of
she
that.
just got booked. She just got booked from one she's shooting this month. I mean, I can't wait for her to announce it. So yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So is that like, it'd be a really cool concept if you turned both of y'all's gimmicks into a eventual like indie film. That would be something unique also, where you'd probably have to do like a whole different style to it, where you're the slasher, but also you'd have to be like the pretty boy wrestler, especially with the long hair. Just pull like a Seth Rollins or something.
That's
And
funny.
then
I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
and then after, be like the Kill Billy and see that into
Yeah.
something, because we don't get a lot of like those kind of movies in professional wrestling. And I think that now with the new wave of and the renaissance in professional wrestling, basically it's no more the term of like throwing shit against the wall and see what sticks. It's like every fan is gonna love whatever is made for wrestling just because it's more.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because Dolly and I, we were talking, and we were just discussing, like, because we do a lot of horror cons, because she gets booked on so many fucking cons. That's why I said it's so funny you brought that up. She literally just got booked for a movie. Like, she's filming. So now this month she's filming 2 movies. And I'm like, hell yeah, I can't wait to get on your level. So this is badass. But horror and wrestling, like, as different as they are, they go together. They kind of have the same fan base. You'll see a lot of that marriage in between. And I mean, how many times you see conventions for romantic movies or comedies? You don't see conventions for comedies or action movies. You see conventions for sci-fi and horror, and the sci-fi can include comic book stuff.
Yeah.
And then you see wrestling cons. That's why they go together. Like, so we're getting into a really interesting time, and you bringing up the wrestling aspect. I've been working on a slasher novel all this year, and what pushed me to do it, last year Dahlia was booked at the Marietta Monster Mash in Ohio. It was her first con that she got booked on as an actor, not just as a wrestler, but as an actor. So she'd already done like Wrestle Bash 2. She was in Queens, New York a few months before, signing autographs with Alicia Fox, and she killed it. And as she always does. And then she gets booked for the Monster Mash. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. So we go to the Monster Mash, and she's positioned like right in between Miko Hughes from Pet Sematary, the little kid that gets ran over by the semi truck. So he's fucking sitting there, and I still think he's a little kid, and he's a year older than me. And I ended up telling him that too. I was like, bro, I always think that you're still a little kid. So he's right beside of her, and then over on this side, she's got Sergeant Slaughter, and I'm like, man, this is fucking awesome. So anyway, all the way down at the very end, there's this actor named Bill Perry. Well, Bill Perry, he's an actor and a stuntman, and he did a lot of stunt work for Nightmare on Elm Street 2, 3, 4, 5, Wes Craven's People Under the Stairs. He did some shit for Michael Jackson. I mean, the dude's like made a living in Hollywood doing this stuff. And he's an author now. And so we talked to him at the end of the con after she was finished and we were packing up, and he really, we added him on Facebook when we left and stuff, got photos with him, and he really inspired me to start writing, because I've always had these different slasher ideals in my head since I was like a 12, 11-year-old kid. And being from Appalachia, Kentucky, you're living, it's like the Wrong Turn movies. It's identical to that. You're in the fucking mountains all the time. And I'm like, man, why has nobody done a movie about this? We got movies in Texas. We got them over here and there, even West Virginia. But why has nothing happened in Kentucky yet? So I've always had that concept and that ideal. Long story short, started writing back in January, December. I'm doing a short story, or not a short story, but a novel of short stories. You ever seen the horror movie Trick or Treat?
Yes.
Okay. It's an anthology. Fucking rules. I love that movie. And there's another good anthology movie called Tales of Halloween. It's fucking good. It's really, really good. So, you got all these stories going on simultaneously. They're crossing paths and this and that. I've always loved that idea. I love Pulp Fiction. Such a good fucking movie,
Yeah.
So I've always loved that. So this book that I'm working on, it all takes place in my home place of Eastern Kentucky in the mountains. But it's about all the stereotype serial killers you see in low budget horror movies. And they're all doing their fucking thing. Some are coming out of state, into Kentucky, not realizing what's about to happen and what happens when they all cross paths at the same time. And you just have this big fucking thing happen to where I'm talking serial killer scarecrow, serial killer clown, fucking killer wrestler, and that's the reason I bring it up. So it's all in there, and I was actually typing on it before I jumped on this today. And anyway, the Bill Perry guy, like, he's going to go over and look at it. I have two Leatherfaces, R.A. Mihalov and Brett Wagner from the 2003. They're going to write my forward in the book. So it's going to be a really cool project. And then, Paige or Dolly has been helping me with ideals on it. Like I'll bounce my ideals off of her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this is good. Don't do this. Do this. This is good." So, and she's always like a really good filter for me. So,
I'm super excited to read this, man.
thank you. Thank
cool.
you. Well, now keep in mind, I'm not trying to be fucking Stephen King. This is very like what I tell people. Okay, so like I love Led Zeppelin and AC/DC. Okay. Yeah. AC/DC is all about having fun. It's just a simple, badass guitar solo, but it's pretty simple shit. Led Zeppelin, it's like we're going to take you on this fucking ride. So I'm not Led Zeppelin. I'm AC/DC. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm over here. It's like, it's pretty fucking simple. And that's the reason I did a collection of short stories, because I got so much ADHD, I can't fucking sit down and just like, I'm going to write a big ass book. So I was like, I'm going to do like Clive Barker did with his short stories, the Books of Blood, where he had like Candyman and then the Hellraiser series. I was like, I'm gonna do something like that, but I'm gonna do it like Trick or Treat and have everybody cross paths.
That's cool. It's just like just crossing paths. I enjoy that, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited to read this when it eventually comes out, of course.
Thank you. Well, the goal is I'm gonna try to get the book published and then a graphic novel. The book will undoubtedly be fucking published and ready to sell no later than October, because I'm at Scarefest this year. I'm booked there in Lexington, Kentucky, because I'm providing all the Leatherfaces with the chainsaws, like Leatherface from Part 2, Part 3, the Netflix. Who else? There's somebody else. I can't remember, but I'm providing them all with the chainsaws. So I'm already going to be there and set up. So I'll be selling my book there. And then it should be at, Dolly and I both are also not only booked at Scarefest, but we're booked at the Marietta Monster Mash again this year. So I'm going to be selling it there as well.
So do you like just that flex right there? I'm giving all the former chainsaw or Leatherface's chainsaws. Like what?
Well,
what?
It's a happy accident, man. So remember earlier when I was running my fucking mouth and I was like, well, I can't be the first guy to carry a chainsaw out. It's been done.
Yeah.
And then Dolly, she came up with the whole idea of cryptids. And I was like, all right, fuck yeah, we'll do that. I was like, well, what can I do that will differentiate me from the other guys that have done this? Because, I mean, even fucking Finn Balor came out with a chainsaw on one of the NXTs,
Yes.
And hell, Braun Breaker did recently also. I think it was last year or the year before, So, but before all that, I was like, what can I do to differentiate myself? So one of my favorite chainsaws is Texas Chainsaw 3.
Oh, okay.
And in that one, this saw set behind me right here. I don't know if you can see it, but Leatherface, his brother, gifts him this big chrome golden chainsaw. It's called the Excalibur. And I always wanted that fucking saw, man. It's like the Cadillac of chainsaws. So like 2011, 2010, I'm Googling on the internet. I'm like, man, I've been a nerd looking up Leatherface stuff. And I come across a guy that does the chainsaws. Like he builds them and he sells them. I was like, one day you will be mine. Oh yes, you will be mine. So fast forward to this, COVID's going on, and Dolly and I were gearing up to return to wrestling. We got everything. And I found another guy to do the chainsaw. And he's from Mississippi. His name is Eric. Disillusion 74 Studios. That's what he was running. I hit him up, asked him how much it was. It was at that time it was $2,100. I said, "Fuck it. I always wanted this. I don't give a shit. It ain't gonna matter anyway. What the fuck is life if you're not spending your money and enjoying yourself? Who cares?" So fucking I bought it. He got it done, and I remember telling Dolly as she was excited for me to get it. And I was like, "It'll pay for itself." So it did pay for itself, because that year coming into Scarefest in Lexington, I was going to go anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite con. Well, R.A., I'd met him twice before. We'd been friends on Facebook, but I didn't have the relationship with him that I have now. Now, R.A.'s Leatherface from Part 3. He hit me up. He was like, "Hey, brother, if I get you in for free at Scarefest, can I use the Excalibur for a photo op?" I said, "Yeah, dude, I will pay you. You don't have to fucking get me in, but I will fucking pay you." Like I was coming anyway, so hell yeah. So we went down there, used it. I was like, dude, this is fucking great. He used it again the next year. I was like, hell yeah, this fucking rules. Then he used it again last year. So the guy that runs Scarefest, his name is Brandon. He hit me up. He was like, "Hey, don't tell nobody, but we're going to bring in most of the Leatherfaces." I was like, "Hell yeah, dude, this is badass. I'm fucking so stoked." And I told him, I was like, "Hey, if you're doing the in-costume photo op with all of them, I literally have all the chainsaws. I have the saw from part 2. I have 2 saws from part 3. I have the saw from the Netflix movie. I have the saw from part 1. And he was like, "Hell yeah, man, thanks." So I was like, "All right, this is cool." So
That's cool, man. That's
how
that
it
really
happened.
is. That's awesome, brother. Like something that you love the most. Look how you're affecting it. Look how you're helping add to it.
Oh, I know. It's a weird thing because all this stuff, like if you could go back and show the 11-year-old me what 32, 3, and 4-year-old me is doing, he'd be like, "There's no fucking way." And it's one of those things you really can manifest things without realizing it. And that's kind of what I did, because when I got that Excalibur, I was like, it'll pay for itself. And it has. It's got me booked all over this country. It's got, it's been authenticated by Leatherface 1,000,000 times now. And it's gotten me like friendships with these Leatherfaces. Like 2 of them I'm super close with. And they're like a dad and an uncle to me. Like they're cool as fuck to me. So it's just, and we were talking about earlier, what's it like being around, like Keish and all that. And so now, like, I'm not going to say I'm so used to it, but now I'm accustomed to it to where I don't, like mark out like that. Now, don't get me wrong. You'll see me mark out more at a horror con with all the actors than you will at a wrestling con. You will never see me mark out at a wrestling con. Unless fucking Stone Cold was there, you ain't going to see me mark out. That's just facts.
But if like Sigourney Weaver's there for the aliens, are you gonna mark out or no?
Not for her, no.
Oh,
not for her. I'll tell you a cool story. You know Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead movies?
Oh yeah.
All right. So the first year we took, and Dolly's been sitting over here the whole time. She's just not loud like I am. The first time we did Scarefest.
Eat shit. Why are you telling that story?
It's good. It's good.
Why are you exposing me right now?
Because it's awesome. So
fuck you. I wasn't checking out Bruce Campbell.
I know, but he thought you were. It was great. So we go. This is our first time doing this.
Yeah.
And I go down. I got the Excalibur. We're walking through the con. We're getting to be Leatherface's entourage. I'm like, dude, this is fucking awesome. This kicks ass. So we go back into the back where like all the actors are. Like they'll get to go in there and they get to have fucking food and all that shit. So R.A. Leatherface, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go in and get something. You guys want to get something?" We're like, "No, we'll just stand here." So I'm standing there. Dolly is beside of me. I'm on my phone looking at my fucking photos like a mark. And the chainsaw's right at her feet. And she looks at me. So there's R.A. sitting over there. Leatherface is eating. The door to my left, it opens. And a man in a well-dressed suit steps in. And Dolly, she's looking down and she's like, "Who the fuck is wearing such nice shoes at a horror con like this?" And then she starts slowly looking up. She's like, "Who's dressed in a tailor-made pair of pants like this? Like this is fucking, a suit." And then she looks up. She's like, "Oh my God, like this guy is fitted to the fucking nine." And then she looks up and it's Bruce Campbell looking at her and he goes, "Yeah." And then he fucking walks off.
I wasn't looking at him.
And it looked like, because where she slow panned all the way up,
He thinks I want him.
it looked from his vantage point like she was fucking checking him out. And so he was like,
I swear to God, I'm not saying I
Dude.
wouldn't have turned him down.
Yeah.
But
She said she wouldn't have turned him down, but come on,
I wasn't.
So
The story's better with her commentary in the back, just saying that she
Oh,
did
Oh,
it.
yeah,
shit.
absolutely.
Bruce Campbell thinks I want to fuck him. But
Yeah,
I'm not
dude.
saying I would say no, but I'm saying I wasn't.
it was great, man. And then just that whole thing happened. And then there's Bruce Campbell. He walks over there, who's known for using a fucking chainsaw in his movies. He's sitting down at the table with Leatherface. They're eating. And I'm like, dude, this is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? This is really cool, man. So,
I would have marked out for that.
dude, it was fantastic. Because all I could think about too, I'm a big Randy Savage mark, super Randy Savage mark. So all I could think about
Xena
was,
Warrior Princess Mark.
yeah, she's a Xena Warrior Princess mark. Bruce Campbell, he was in that series also. What was he, the Prince of Thieves? Is that what he was?
Yeah.
Yeah. So And then Joxer, of course, was Ted
Would have
Raimi.
fucked him
So
too, but
yeah.
I would have totally hooked up with him.
so I'm just looking. I'm like, dude, this is man, what a fucking wild time this is. It's just cool, man. Like stuff like that's fucking awesome. So
Were you about to say the 3 minutes from
that's
Spider-Man?
exactly. That's where I got lost. My bad. Yeah. So all I can think about also is, dude, he did that fucking scene with Bonesaw McGraw. And I was like, dude, this is because it's like that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like this guy worked with this guy who worked with this guy who worked with that girl, you know. So I'm like, not only marking out because he's Evil Dead, but I'm also marking out because, dude, he did that fucking scene with Randy Savage look jacked as fuck, man.
Yeah. So
That's
as
insane.
we begin to wind down, for one, this has been an awesome conversation, man.
I
And
feel like I
can't-
just fucking ran my mouth, man. I feel like I've bored you guys to death.
No, not at
No.
all, my guy. Not
All right,
at all.
cool.
Not at all. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy this one just because we got hella into fucking cryptids.
Sweet. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Also, hi, Dahlia, again.
They said hi.
Fuck off. Like, listen, I'm going through my interviews. I'm talking to my agent right now with my headphones in, but I'm brought in on the Bruce Campbell part.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys.
That's the first time I've told that story.
You
So
guys suck. Like, seriously, all due respect, fuck you for exposing me.
I gave you guys that exclusive. I've never told that story before.
Oh, this is going to be great. It's going straight. This is a.
motherfucker.
Be sure to make that into a reel.
Oh, I will. I will.
He literally had who wears snakeskin
Dude.
shoes. Those were like $4,000 shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And his suit had to be like a
Well-
$5,000 suit.
Well, and two, what was cool is at the
I
time.
was insulted not checking him out.
I know. I think Sam Raimi was there also. So at the time, they were on location in New Zealand filming the last Evil Dead movie they did. So I was like, well, that's fucking cool.
Oh, you. Oh,
Nothing
if I
but
got to meet
love,
Sam
guys.
Raimi, oh,
Dude.
I would cry.
Yeah.
Tell him
That's
I
it.
love and respect.
She said love and respect
Love and respect to you back.
for you guys.
I'll probably see them towards the end of the year in person, like in the summer at the earliest.
Oh, yeah. We'll be out there. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so. I can't wait. So where can everybody find your socials? Especially, are you guys starting a YouTube channel? Because I know you talked about wanting to do that the cryptid stuff. Like, where
Well,
can
I
we
got
find you at?
I got a YouTube channel. Like you can find Evil Nate, everything you look for. If you like hashtag Killbilly, Backwoods Buzzsaw, I Am Cropsy, Urban Legend, any of that stuff, dude, I'm on. But everything I'm on is Evil Nate, like TikTok, YouTube. I think on my YouTube, I think I've busted 612 subscribers now. I was posting a lot, and then I took a little time, and I wasn't. So I'm kind of starting to post again. Like we just did a big photo shoot yesterday. I'll probably post that on there, like the behind the scenes. I try to do that a lot, but I should have more content on there because I got a booking coming up this weekend in West Virginia. Then Dolly and I are going to Smoky Mountain Terror in Tennessee. Leatherface's daughter from Part 3 is going to be there, so I'm going to get her to hold my chainsaw, sign my fucking poster, and get her to put me fucking over because I go by the son of Leatherface, so it'd be like my fucking sister, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we got that. Then I know Black Dolly is booked in San Antone the following weekend, and then I'll be down in I think Austin that weekend wrestling. That's not been announced yet, but whatever. But everything you want to find me on, Evil Nate, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, TikTok, YouTube. I think I got it all, I think, but it's all just Evil Nate.
Evil Nate. Yes. I can't wait to see what more stuff you guys come out with throughout the year. This is going to be exciting. This has just been a good experience the last 2 weeks for me personally.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Like I said, I ramble a lot. I can't help it. That's just the hillbilly in me. I can't help it. So
it's all good, man. Nothing but love, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our conversation with the Killbilly, Evil Nate.
yeah.
Head over, check out all his socials, check out Dahlia's socials, and we will see you guys in the next video.